Ahoi! We are here in the startupstube, Thomas Metzler and me, Magdalena Meusburger, and we are supported by Raissa and Christof, the Pirates of Love. They are fearless people. They sail the ocean. They accepted the ocean as their teacher, and they actually are living on a sailing boat right in front of the coast of Brazil. As I mentioned, they are experts in the topic of fear, how to deal with your fears. And in this episode, we will talk about how dreams and beliefs and fears are connected. So Raissa and Christof, you accepted the ocean as your teacher, and lots of your wisdom is actually based on your own experience of living on land and living on the sea. In the workshop, you told us that, well, dreams and fears are more like low tide and high tide, and both of them are important and connected. Can you please tell us more about that?
Yes, I'd love to. You mentioned low tide and high tide. This was a concept that I was not aware before I moved to the ocean. I'm myself from the Alps, and I'd never experienced it. I've heard about it, but never felt it, lived with it for years. And it is that every 6 hours, it completely changes everything. And it makes you very aware of your living. If you, for example, we often anchor in rivers, and every 8 hours, the whole water flows in, brings fresh water. It's all clean. It's beautiful to dive. And that seems like the big dream. Like when it's fresh water, it's all nice. The fish come in and it's all beautiful. And then when it dries out again, the low tide goes, it dries down, the water gets muddy, the fish go out, and it all seems kind of dirty, the water, and dark and brownish. And that would reflect the fear part in a more metaphoric way. So you always want to dive in the high tides because the water is just more beautiful in the low tides. However, having fishing, I love to fish and been fishing a lot and talking to the locals, that many times in low tide, because of the fish, they gather together in the ponds and you have less water, you're just as successful fishing in low tide. Maybe you have to use different techniques. You wouldn't go spear fishing because you don't see anything, but you maybe use a net or some other tools to fish. So it had made us very aware of looking at these things, that it's a universal law, these polarities, high tide, low tide, day and night, winter, summer, cold and hot, and they don't go without each other. You cannot just live in the high tides. That would make you a high flyer, and at some point you fall miserably. So you have to learn how to fish in the low tides just as well, and to know different techniques on how to, in this case, deal with your fears and use them, as we've said in previous episodes, as your master. And that really helps for life in general, and it's very visible. A very visible concept that many times takes us a bit out of the head. And maybe the last thing that is so visible living on the ocean is impermanence. We've always talked about it, that nothing always is flowing and nothing is permanent. But it's such a big concept in a fear culture, and that's getting even stronger lately. Everybody's at home and is afraid of all kinds of things now. Viruses and losing their jobs, and so we need to help people and share knowledge on how these fear is not overtaking their personal lives. And looking at the ocean, so maybe one thing could be, if you just go on YouTube and make ocean and just look at it, how it is constantly in movement. And I guess it's the best proof of that the only constant that we have is movement. And we constantly have to adapt, and that shouldn't be fearful. That's a natural law. Everything is vibration, is movement, and there's not just low and high tide, but there is different techniques of fishing in both conditions.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and just to add one thing, sorry, Thomas. Christof said about the high and low tide, and fear for us and dream are very connected. Because, for example, we could say that fear is very connected to the low tide, so to this contraction feeling, while dream is more of this expansion. Now, both of them, we could say they're faces of the same coin. So two polarities in the way that we are both of them are projections into the future. So we project, one has a more of a positive bias, it's like the dream. I project a beautiful scenario for my life, but it's into the future as well. It moves me, it expands me. And the fear, it's also projection into the future, but something that contracts me, it's more of a negative bias, right? So they're both polarities. So they're part of the same coin. They're not against each other. They're not opposites. It's not one or the other. It's them together as one thing that can make us stronger if we learn how to integrate them and learn how to elevate our own vibration to use fear as an impulse for realizing our dreams, for example.
Well, absolutely perfect analogy with the ocean. Also, I like that. And you've been talking also about beliefs and if we and how they're connected to fear. So if we stay in the ocean picture, we could say like the waves we see above on the oceans, they are maybe the fear, the one that we experience as entrepreneurs while pursuing our ideas. But deep down under these fears, we can can feel kind of their beliefs. They're maybe not so obvious in the first place. So at least that's how I understand it. You have to work to uncover them. Can you maybe elaborate on that a little bit? How like these fears are connected with a belief system that is somehow in the background?
Yes. Well, let me start with one sentence that I learned from my teacher. She's a reference in the world about beliefs. Her name is Byron Katie. And she says that we are all believers. So that means that everything we create as a reality is based on the things we believe. So we can shape our reality according to what we believe, right? And also our values, but we believe in our values as well. And I just commented now that fears are a projection. So that means fear is actually an illusion. It is, we feel it as an emotion, but the image is an illusion. So how can we realize that is an illusion? By questioning it, by understanding what are the beliefs behind them. So, for example, if I'm walking on the street and I see a dog barking at me and I get afraid, the thing is that I'm not really afraid of the dog. I'm afraid of the image that this dog can bite me or can harm me, can do something bad to me. And what really matters is what lies behind that. So why am I afraid of this dog? What is the belief that sustains this thought that a dog will bite me, for example? And then by asking why, a few questions, I might understand a few beliefs. For example, I believe that dogs are dangerous. This could be a belief. Or let's talk a bit about a more personal example. So let's say I will give a speech and I'm going on stage to say something, and then I get afraid. I freeze. I'm not really afraid of the stage or afraid of the people. I'm afraid of the image that I create that something will go wrong. So failure. No, I see failure. I see people laughing at me. I project a bad scenario, right, about my own performance. So what is behind this fear? What is underneath these waves that you're saying? If I dive deep my waters and I start questioning why, I usually say there are the 5 whys. Try to ask yourself 5 times why. Why am I fearing that? Why am I fearing that? And then I might get to a few beliefs. For example, well, I believe I'm not a good speaker. I believe I'm too shy. I believe I don't really have good things to say. And that's exactly what I need to get to. Because if I learn how to reframe these beliefs, then I can reframe them, turn them around and use them as an impulse to prepare myself better and to shine my light, right? And not let the fear overcome me and paralyze and turn it reality. So we need to learn how to question our beliefs, and they actually change our fears into masters.
This is a really interesting topic, how to deal with your fear. And I guess a lot of listeners now want to learn more about that and how to actually do that, because it obviously is really important and could help us in our lives as entrepreneurs. So I guess let's dedicate an own video on that maybe, because it's so important. So We will be back with that topic on our next episode with Raissa and Christoph. Thanks for being here today, and see you next time on our channels. Take care.
Thank you.